Welcome to Art by Rick. My name's Rick. I'm sitting here in a studio area and I'm going to do a very special painting today. Today happens to be July 4th, 2026. It's the 250th anniversary of our country. And because it's the 4th of July, I thought I would do a painting that incorporates fireworks. So the painting that I'll do today is I'm going to make some fireworks over a cityscape as if we were looking at a 4th of July celebration. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that using some interesting techniques to get the effect that I want to get. But before I get started even on that, I wanted to talk about the last show I did where we did a return to the balloon smash. I did some balloon smashing technique of multiple colors on small canvases. And unfortunately, because it takes so long for those paintings to dry, I wasn't able to show the completed project when I did the drawing on top of the balloon smash. So I selected one to basically show you on this show. This is the 8x11 canvas that I did on the previous show, where I did the balloon smash technique, making the color smashes using the oranges and the reds. And then what I did was I took a painter's pen and I drew floral patterns on top of the smash to give me a bouquet of flowers. So that's how this basically came out. This painting I titled Warm Spring because it just reminds me of springtime. So that's the finished painting that I would have liked to have shown on the previous show, but because it takes so long to dry, I wasn't able to complete it within the time frame that I have to use. Now, this show, as I said, is going to be a show where I'm going to incorporate some fireworks. So what I'm going to go for, and this is one of my test canvases, I'm going to go for a firework display, and I'm going to show you how I make these bursts. Hopefully the bursts I make on the painting that I'm doing will come out a little bit better than this one, but this is kind of the idea that I'm going to do. I'm going to use reds, yellows, blues, maybe a little bit of black and some highlights of white in order to get those bursts that you would see when a firework goes off. And again, I'm going to do that over a cityscape. And I'll show you how I'm going to make that when I do this particular painting. So let me show you the preparation that I did, and then we'll go on and we'll make our painting. In order to do this particular painting, I needed to have a base. So what I did was I took one of my medium-sized canvases and I coated the canvas, the white canvas, again a stretched white canvas over wood, with black paint to give me a nice black surface in order to make my fireworks on. And then as I was looking at it, I thought to myself, I need to do something to give it a little bit of interest rather than just kind of helter-skelter fireworks in the sky. So I thought, what would you normally see a firework display over? Well, you might be in a park and you see it over the stadium, or maybe you're looking over a theater area or some kind of outdoor vendor or venue in order to see the fireworks. But I thought it would be nice to kind of do it over a cityscape. So what I did was I created a painting, and I'll show you what I did here. In this particular case, I just made a simple painting, and I'm hiding behind it so I could show you. I coated the canvas in black, and by coating it in black, I just basically did it in such a point where I have a darker canvas to work on. And then using some grays and some whites, I drew some silhouettes of buildings on the bottom here with a little bit of green on the bottom that represent the cityscape or trees you might see on a city road. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make some fireworks appear in the sky above the buildings. So you're looking kind of at the cityscape and you're going to see the fireworks higher in the sky above the city. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that using some special tools. Now you say, okay, well, what kind of special tools are you going to use? Well, in order to get those thin burst type lines, one of the techniques that I like to use is business cards. Because the business card gives me a nice straight edge that I can dip into the paint and press it onto the canvas in different directions to make those spirals and those drags that I do. And I'll layer several colors in order to get that burst effect. I'll even kind of trail it a little bit so it looks like the firework is being fired from behind the building going up into the sky. And then I'll add a little sparkle and a little detail to it as we go later on. So let me prep a little bit of that. Let me get my paints out, the colors that I want to do, set out my paper plate that I use as my palette, pick my cards, pick my brush that I'm going to use for detail work, and then we'll actually get into the painting of making fireworks over the cityscape that I just showed you. Okay, so what I've done now is I've placed my canvas down on my work table. And again, I apologize that the canvas and the way this is it's upside down to you, the viewers, until I figure out how to get a camera setting where I can have a camera coming from overhead down. This is the way I prefer to do my painting so I can see what I'm doing. And of course, when I do finish it, I will turn it around so you can actually see what it actually looks like when it's finished. So what I've done to start here is place the canvas in front of me. I'm kind of eyeballing where I want my fireworks to be. And I'm going to start by using just a small little paintbrush to kind of make some white dots to give me targets as to where I'm going to start. I have a paper plate here. With the paper plate, I'm going to put a little bit of white paint in the middle, just a little bit, just a drop. And I'm going to use for my fireworks colors like red, some bright yellow, maybe some blue to give some contrast, and of course the white going from there to make my bursts. So in order to do this, I will take a brush and I'm going to just kind of decide that I want my first firework to be right about here. So I'm just going to make a little circle to give me a target area for the firework. So right there is where I'm going to start my first firework. So I'll have one there. I might reach one up in this corner here. So I'll make a little white kind of circle. And it doesn't matter if these are fully white circles because they are going to get rather diffused when I do start to do my card little trick here. So one over that way, one way over on that way, and we'll do a series of maybe 3 here. So we'll have one low, and one about there. This one and this one may run into each other. And I might, just for good measure, put one over here. So that will give me a nice round number, six fireworks or 6 dots there. Now I'm going to pick my business cards. I have my business cards ready to go here. These just happen to be my own business cards, Art by Rick cards, with my name and address on them. And I'm going to use this part of the card to make my short circles and this part of the card to make my long circles. So I want the fireworks to be streaming going up. So I'm going to use a pencil brush, something like this, and I'm going to just take a little bit of white, and these fireworks are going to look like they're shooting up into the sky this way. So just coming up and letting it go to the point of there. So there's one going up that way. We have one that's going to kind of be shooting way up this way. Another one that comes up and hits here. And one that shoots up this way and kind of fires up all the way up to this corner. And again, I'm just making white lines. They don't have to be solid lines because you know how fireworks go and how they, they trail smoke going up to the firework itself. So there you go. That's just letting the paint kind of break it up as it's going, so it's not solid lines. So that kind of gives me my patterns as to how it's going, and I'm going to use that a little bit later. And now I'll use my color. So I'll start with some red. I'm going to put the red onto my paper plate. I'll put a good blob over here off to the side. And I'm going to take my card, and what I'll do with the card here, if I can move these paints out of the way, is I'm going to dip the side of the card into the paint to get this edge full of paint. So I'm just going to kind of just dip it, and I'm going to make sure that I tap it because I don't want too much of the paint to be blobbing. And then I'm going to start to make circles. So I'll do a little dot, just little spiral dots going around, making sure that I keep adding paint. And I'm just going to go around and make these small spiral dots. I'm using that center blob that I did as kind of my guideline, so I can kind of make my marks. And I'm going to have to keep adding paint onto this as I go. Going around, going around, going around. And basically that's all I'm doing, is I'm just making a spiral using the red paint, following kind of that circle pattern. And remember, these are starbursts, these are explosions, so you don't have to be super precise. You just want to make sure that you have some color showing up on the fireworks here. So there's basically the start of the first one. Okay, now I want to elongate these, so I'll use the side of the card and make the lines a little bit longer. And what's nice about a business card is I could take the business card and I can fold it just a little bit to make some curves, so that you have that burst going out, but you also have some curves. Now I'm going to go along and I'm going to do a little bit of the red in some of these other spots. And again, I'm just kind of going around to make my lines, my bursts. Again, I'm just going to kind of make these coming out. And it's again, and you're going to make these in such a way where you want to make the lines different sizes. So again, I'm kind of just bursting these out here, making my fireworks onto my canvas. And again, I'm just going to keep filling these in. And in the interest of time, I won't do each color this way because I only have so much time to film Art by Rick. So I can't go too crazy with showing you the whole painting as I'm doing it, because this kind of takes some time to do. But again, I will add some more colors to this, and then I will come back and I will show you how those layered colors begin to give our bursts a little bit of dimension and a little bit more color. So it really starts to look like these fireworks are really starting to burst into the sky. All right. So again, I'm just using the edge of the card with a little bit of paint to just kind of go around and make my paint, and I'm going to use the longer part of the card to be able to make these have some longer blowouts on them. And then I'll show you how I do my highlights. All right, so I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to work a little bit more on this, and then when I come back, I'll show you a couple of other little ways of finishing this to get the effect that I want to get. Okay? All right. Now, while I was off camera, I added some more colors to the canvas to make my fireworks really look like they were popping. So I used the business card, as I showed you before. And what I did with the business card is, as I was using the edges, I just kept going around in different circles. I would let that set up for a while. When it would set up, I'd come back with another color, add those colors, the same kind of thing, just kind of tapping going around in a circle with each one of these firework bursts. Then I'd use the long edge of the card where I would coat some paint on, and I'd give the card just a little bit of a pinch, a little bit of a curve, and I would kind of go down making longer bursts. Because remember, these are fireworks, so they're bursting out. They burst up, and then the gravity's pulling them down as they're going. And I chose to do 6 of these so that we have our different bursts. We have 4 coming off from this smaller building here, shooting up into the sky, 1 going this way, 1 here, 1 going off this way, and then a couple of renegades coming up off of this particular side here. Now the idea is these fireworks are shooting from behind these buildings. So just imagine that these buildings are sitting here, and maybe there's like a stadium or a central park or something like that that's behind the buildings that they're launching these fireworks from. Now, as the fireworks are being shot up into the sky, you're going to have these trails. And when I started the painting, you saw how I took some white paint on a round brush, and I basically just drew lines, and I let the paint kind of drool as it was going to give me like a smoky line going up. And I chose to use a very small brush to do that. I actually have 2 different brushes here. One has a flat type of tip to it. The other has a very fine tip to it. So now what I'm choosing to do is I'm going to add a little bit more white paint. And I want to finish my smoke trails here. So again, I want this to look like it's coming from the back of the building and going up. So I'm just going to shoot this going right up. So again, there's another smoky line coming up. I'm going to get a little more paint. All right, smoky line coming up and just going right to that particular painting. And then I'm going to fill in these down here a little bit because I have these going up and this one going up and this one going up. So they're coming from behind the buildings. Now, what happens with this is you know that as a rocket is taking off, it has the flames that are coming out of the back of the rocket. So one of the easier things to do with this is to take a fine tip brush and make it so that you have a little more width on the streaks here, because these are basically the rockets that are shooting up. So I'm just going to widen this a little bit and make it a little bit more white going up like this. And I'm going to pull it up so that it doesn't look like it's so thick, just pulling it up like that. And I'll do the same thing here. I'm also going to take a little bit of the white on the fine tip, and I'll pick a couple of these little ends. I'm just going to do a little, kind of little dots on the ends to round them out a little bit. Just a little dot. This is kind of as the rocket is shooting out and it's getting ready to burn out. It has a little point of light on the end. So again, I'm just shooting. That one looks like it's going to hit the building, but it's not going to, of course. So I'm just going to do that. And I'll just pick random little pieces just to make the little white dots on the end. Just little white dots, just like that. That's all. Just boom. Boom, just touching little white dots. Let's see, I like to pick the thin ones as I'm going through here to do that. Just kind of, again, this one, some of these already have wider tips, so I really don't have to add anything to them. So just little white dots like that. That's all. We'll let that settle in there. Okay, so that we have the fireworks kind of blowing and going from here. I'm also going to add just a little hint of color. So I'll take a little bit of my red, a little bit of my yellow, and I'm going to just kind of add just a little bit of color into these fire streaks. It's almost if just a little bit of the, just a little teeny bit of the firework kind of just started to sneak out, you might say, of the trail as it was starting to launch. So just a little teeny bits like that. And that's really all I want to do. Now, this is against a night sky, So let me kind of turn this around a little bit for you so you can kind of get a good look at what's happening here with this firework display. So I'm going to spin it around. And as I'm spinning it around, I'll try to get it into the camera here. You'll see that I have my cityscape or my buildings that I put down here on the bottom as I was doing my base. And then I have my fireworks shooting up from behind the buildings, and I chose to do 6 of them with colorful bursts that are going on. Now in some of these cases, you know, the paint is a little thicker, some cases is a little thinner. Now this will kind of all even itself out as it has a chance to dry. So I'm going to turn this back around facing me again. This allows me to kind of take a look at it, see if there's anything else I want to add to this. I do have some blank areas in the canvas. I have this area here. I've got an area up here. One of the things I like to caution is when you're doing, you know, paintings like this is sometimes you can get a little bit carried away and you start filling in all these blank spots, and before you know it, your painting's like way too complicated. It's got too much going on. It's got too much, you know, that's distracting the eye in different directions. This is something where you want to kind of keep this as simple as possible, making sure that these strokes are kind of dragging things out and that people are able to kind of appreciate that these are fireworks that are just kind of shooting up beyond the buildings and bursting into the different colors going from there. All right, so we're going to name this painting Fireworks Over the City. I think that's a good name for it. This is being done on July 4th, 2026, on the 250th anniversary of the celebration of the United States of America. So I wanted to do something that would celebrate that, something that would show that color. So let me put this up on display and we'll talk about the final finishing and what else we might do for this particular painting. So here's the painting on display here on Art by Rick. What I decided to do was try to celebrate the 4th of July by painting some fireworks. It's a very simple painting, as you saw me do. This is something you can have fun doing. Just remember that you need just a pencil-sized brush, a couple of business cards, a plate, pick the colors that you want. Take your time, layer the colors one on top of the other, making sure you give enough time for those colors to kind of set up, because you don't really want to smash into the colors. You want to kind of layer them on top of each other. And you're just going around those initial dots that you make. You know, you're just kind of following that pattern, making those spirals come out, making those lines come out so that you have these bursting patterns in the sky. I don't know if you picked up on it or not, but one of the things that I did when I was prepping the surface of this painting to give some background and make it a night sky, I put little stars in here. That's done with sprinkling some white paint and actually using a toothbrush where you're just flicking the white paint onto the canvas to get these little sparkles, because I wanted these fireworks to look like they're going up against a big sky or against the back sky. So here we are, the cityscape with the fireworks for the 4th of July here on Art by Rick. My next painting that I'm going to do, I'll do something fun. I'll do something a little bit different. I'm going to take myself to a different area, different background, show you a few other paintings that I've done, and we'll create something interesting, something colorful that will look nice hanging on any wall, just about in any office or any home. My name is Rick, and this has been Art by Rick. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Remember, all you have to do is let the artist in you come out and paint.
Nutmeg TV has been providing community television for over 30 years. We needed some studio upgrades, and Ion Bank believed in us. As a result of Ion Bank's financial help, we've been able to help others move on in a field that's difficult to get experience in. You're working with partners who understand who you are, and Ion Bank does that. They walk with us every day. It's community banking at its best.
What are you doing this summer? Do you want to belong to a community that embraces the creative spirit, not pushes it aside? Are you ready to explore your inner passions and meet lifelong friends? YPI is for you. Since 1981, YPI has served as an annual retreat, a home base, and a welcoming environment for the curious mind. You'll find an inclusive, sharing community where we are always learning. At YPI, your success begins with believing there are no can'ts and no won'ts. We're not your average arts camp. You don't need any special ability or talent because our professional staff will foster your interest in the creative arts at any level. Maybe it's a paintbrush, or a microphone, a camera, or a pen, or any combination of all of these. We inspire passion, build confidence, and strengthen friendships. We're YPI. Are you ready to find out what the YPI state of mind is all about?